Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Akash Kobre and today we'll be learning how to create program for prime numbers in UiPath. So first let's go ahead and check the condition to print n prime numbers, or we may say it as first 10 prime numbers programming in C. I will be taking this program as a reference to fetch it in UiPath. So this is a C program to print first 10 prime numbers. So here they have initialized 4 variables: ct is equal to 0, n is equal to 0, I is equal to 1 and j equal to 1. These are default values of the variables and the type is integer. Now here we have while loop and the condition is n less than 10. So that means here it will print 10 prime numbers, and then we have another while loop inside it called j less than equal to I, and next we have if statement, and this is means I modulus j equal to 0, and this condition is true, then ct++ statement will be executed. The ct++ in the sense ct will be incremented by 1, so we can write it as ct is equal to ct plus 1. Similarly for j++ we can write it as j is equal to j plus 1. Similarly here n is equal to n plus 1 and here I is equal to I plus 1. Now in this if statement the condition is ct equal to 2. If this condition is true, then there will be an output. This printf means it is giving an output of variable I. The value stored in I will be printed. So let's go ahead and open UiPath and fetch this code in UiPath. So we'll be making a program to print first n prime numbers based on the user's input. So this is the latest version 2021.10.5, and generally prime numbers are those numbers which are divisible only by itself and 1. So that logic we need to understand over here and fetch the code in such a way that it prints first n prime numbers. So here I'll go to my project called YouTube and I'll create it in a sequence project. So it was going to take some time to open the workflow, and very soon we will be starting the coding of this program to print first n prime numbers. So here we go to new and create sequence and name it as assign 02 and click on create. Now once we create this workflow, we need an input from the user, so we'll be taking an input dialog box and dragging and pasting it over here, and then we'll be writing it as prime number calculator and the input label as how many first prime numbers you want, and the input type will be text box and value entered. I want to store this value in some variable. I'll name it as num and the variable type as integer. That's it. So now here I can write it as num. Now next we have to take the help of the code which is available in the website. So here they have initialized 4 variables called ct is equal to 0, n is equal to 0, I is equal to 1 and j is equal to 1. So let's assign those variables first. So just click on this box and create variables ct, type integer and variable as default value as 0. Create another variable called n, type integer and default value as 0. Again we have I as a variable, take it as integer and default value as 1. Similarly j as a variable, integer and default value as 1. So now we have created 4 variables as per the code here, and now we'll be taking while loop while n less than 10. Since we want to print 10 prime numbers, it is written as 10. We want to print based on user's input, so I'll be writing it as n less than n number, that is this number. So I'll be writing this condition as n less than num. So when the user enters 10 value, it will be n less than 10. If the user enters 20 value, it will print first 20 numbers, that is n less than 20. Now once this condition we have put that n is equal to 10, inside the loop we have initialized that j is equal to 1 and ct is equal to 0. So let's take an assign variable over here, assign dialog box, and assign ct is equal to 0, and one more assign box within it called j is equal to 1. And after that we have one more while loop inside this while loop called while j is less than equal to I. So take one more while loop from the activity and drop it over here and write j less than equal to I. And if this condition is true, we have an if statement called if I modulus j equal to 0. So take the if statement and drop it over here and write if I modulus j equal to 0. That means when I divided by j gives the remainder as 0, then we have to execute ct is equal to ct plus 1. So now we'll be taking an assign dialog box and dropping it over here and write it as ct is equal to ct plus 1. That's it. Next we have the next statement called k plus plus, and it is inside this while loop but outside the if statement. So let's go ahead and take the one more assign box over here and assign it as j equal to j plus 1. That's it. And then we have if condition that if ct is equal to 2. So we have to assign it as ct is equal to 2 in if statement over here. If ct equal to 2, if ct is equal to 2, we have to write it as printf I. That means we have to give a message box, or we can take it a right line from here, right line as here I can write it as I dot to string, because I is an integer, I want to print I is a variable, so here it is I dot to string. Next we have, they have made it as n is equal to n plus 1, so I will take the assign box and drop it over here and writing as n is equal to n plus 1. Then we have another dialog box. This if statement is over. Now we have outside the if but inside this while loop that I is equal to I plus 1. So we'll be writing the statement over here using assign dialog box, taking as I is equal to I plus 1. That's it, the program is over, and now we may write a message box after this saying that first plus, we have to state the number, so we have num dot to string, again open the bracket, plus open in double inverted commas and write it as first n numbers, prime numbers have been printed successfully. So this will be printed in this output. This message box will be appeared, and once the program is completed, and this statement I dot to string, it will print in this output. So all the numbers which are prime, first 10 prime numbers or first 20 prime numbers are based on the user interface. The program will display prime numbers. So let's go ahead and try running this file. So let's say we want first 10 prime numbers. So I'm writing it as 10 and I click on OK. So first 10 prime numbers have been printed successfully. So where you can see that over here in output, we can see it as over here 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 19, 13, 17, 19, 18, 20, 29. These are the first 20 prime numbers. Now what if I want to make the program in such a way that I want to print first 50 prime numbers. Let's try for first 50 prime numbers. So once again I will run this program and I will check whether it can print first 50 prime numbers, and it will give a message box saying first 50 prime numbers have been printed successfully. And you can see in output over here from 2 to 129. So till 29, these are all first 50 prime numbers. Now what if I want to print the prime numbers from 40 to 100? So if I want to print the prime numbers within a specified range, let's make a program for this project, and let me hide this first, and I will give one more input dialog box to enter the range. So drag and drop one more input dialog box, not a message box, input dialog box. So where it is, over here, drag and drop it and name it same as prime number calculator, and here I will edit it as enter it should be in capitals. So enter starting point, enter starting number. So this will be my range. If I want to print from 40 to 100 prime numbers, so between that all the prime numbers should be printed. So enter starting number and we will keep it as same, and here I will be enter second number. Okay, so enter second number and enter starting number. So here I will write it as sec num, and this should be created variable first. So I will be writing as sec num type integer. So this will be taken starting number, and I'll be writing here as ending number. That will be more easy to understand. Okay, so this is what it will happen. And now here, while I need to print that number is going to, this number n is equal to n plus 1 should be incremented. So definitely here we don't want to start with n is equal to 0. We are starting with n is equal to 0 over here. We have assigned default values. You can see it over here that we have assigned default values n is equal to 0. So here what we want the program to start with this num. So here I can enter it as where over here, while num less than equal to num sec. So sec num. We can enter it as sec num. Okay, so this condition is true, then it will assign these variables, and here we need to assign one more dialog box called, yes, like we can assign this dialog box over here, and I can say it as n is equal to num. So that's it, n is equal to num, so that this is the num, and we are going to increment num value over here. Here num is equal to num plus 1, and we'll be taking this outside because we need to print the range, between the range whatever is specified, between that range all the prime numbers should be printed. If we take it inside, it will print first 50 prime numbers, not up to 50, but here when we take it outside it will print between the exact range. And here we don't need this I box, so we can delete this I. And here also what we can do here, n is equal to none, and here instead of I'll be writing it as num mod j is equal to 0, and wherever as I, here also I'll be writing it as num dot string, is equal to num plus 1. Here I'll be editing it as prime numbers. This should be in double inverted commas, so prime numbers from prime numbers between we can write it as n dot toString, because we have declared that n is equal to num, plus between n dot toString and plus set num dot toString plus r as follows. Okay, so this will be writing, and I want to copy this, so r printed successfully. Can write this r printed successfully. And now what will happen is the prime numbers between any range can be printed. So let's try to run this program. Will be here we have j less than equal to num. So wherever I is there, you have to replace it by num. Okay, so that thing, if we have done correctly, definitely the program will run smoothly. So let's try it. I want to print the starting number from 40 to 100, and prime numbers between 40 and 100 are printed successfully. So here we can see an output. Over here you can see it as from 40 to 90 all prime numbers are printed. Now if I want to display all these prime numbers in the message box, so we can use this variables, or you can collect. I will declare a variable for collect, and I will mark the integer type as list of t, list list of t. So this you can select, and we need to select type called integer and click on OK, and I'll be assigning it as new list of int 32. So this is what we need to assign it, otherwise it will not work. Now this I want to store it over here, so I'll be deleting this, and I will add it to collection of this collect. So here I will drag this add to collection and paste it over here, and here the collection should be in collect, and the type must be integer, and item what we want to store is num. That's it. So this is the item of integer, and num values will be stored in the collect segment, in the collect list of integer. This is an array in which all the numbers will be stored, and I'll be assigning the score to 4. Now in the message box we will be writing here as prime numbers from n dot toString to set num are as follows, and I'll be adding here as or plus VBCRLF to print on the next line, and then plus, and again we have to use it as string dot join, and then in bracket I'll be mentioning double inverted commas and giving a tab space comma collect. So what it will do is it will print all the numbers which are collected in this variable called collect. Okay, so prime numbers from n.toString to secnum to string are as follows, and it will print all the prime numbers in the message box. So let's go ahead and execute this program and let's see how well it works. Okay, so suppose I want to print the prime numbers from 20 to say 54. Okay, so here see prime numbers from 20 to 54 as follows: 23, 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47, 53. These are the numbers which are divisible only by itself and 1, and the range entered is from 20 to 54. Let's try for bigger numbers. Okay, so this program is very much suitable and it has no limit for certain for till 4-digit numbers. So let's try for heavy numbers, say 2041 as the starting number, and the ending number I will be writing it as 2000. Let's see how it works. And prime numbers from 2041 to 2000. Okay, so I have entered higher number first, so it is not counting. So let's take 1041 to 2000. So 1041 to 2000, and let's see whether it prints the prime numbers, all the prime numbers from 1041. Here we can see how nicely all the prime numbers from 1041 to 2000 have been printed successfully. So that's it from my side. So here we have learned how to print first n prime numbers and also between any specified range. Thank you for your patience and listening to my YouTube video, and please subscribe to my channel, and if you have any doubts regarding the prime number programming, please comment below and I will definitely reply back. This is Akash Khobre signing off now. Thank you guys.